All right, good morning or good afternoon, everyone. This is Jimmy from Function Point. So it is 9:59 Pacific time. We're just about to get the webinar started on CRM and sales, but I'm going to give it another minute or two here to let any stragglers that haven't joined yet. I see there's still a few people in the process of doing that. So we'll give them another minute, maybe minute and a half here, and then we'll get the show going. All right, so just for people who just joined, just want to welcome you again to today's Function Point webinar on the CRM and sales type of the solution. It's an area that most people don't really dive too deep into, but we'll give it another 10 seconds here to make sure everyone's audio is all set up, and then we'll get started. And then I get to sip another drink of coffee in the meantime, too. Okay. All right, let's get started here then. Well, welcome again, everyone. My name is Jimmy. I am one of the sales managers here inside Function Point. I've actually had a lot of experience using Function Point as a CRM tool for a number of years. So I'm actually kind of excited to show you how I personally use it and what I personally like about our CRM tool. Just so you know, I've used other CRM tools, including things like Salesforce, Hubspot. So I'll definitely be able to, hopefully, at least, give you some insights to how it works. I also have my partner in crime, Jess, who is our customer success manager. Some of you may or may not have worked with her in the past. So she'll be there. If you do have any questions, feel free to ask. There in your GoToWebinar control panel, there is a questions area. So feel free to type in your questions at any point in there, and we'll definitely get to it. Jess might answer it for me, or if we want to dive deeper, we may be able to have time later on to answer them for you as well. All right, so in terms of the agenda today, some of the key things we'll go through is how do you track contact company data inside Function Point? How do we track all the tasks as a salesperson or as an account rep that we need to do? How do we make sure we are on top of following up with all of our clients and prospects? How do we track those historical communications inside Function Point so that if someone else takes over the account or if a project manager gets involved, how can they see all what has been discussed? And of course, most importantly, how do we track sales pipeline inside Function Point? I'll touch a little bit about time tracking as well. So for account reps who do track time in the system, and then of course reporting at the end. So let's jump into it and get this roller coaster ride started. If you do have any questions, once again, in the GoToWebinar control panel, feel free to jump in. All right, so what you're looking at is the dashboard. I've set up a dashboard that I personally use at Function Point. So I have my task and to-do list, a pin note section in case someone wants to inform me of certain account information, project updates, etc. And we also have the job summary tab so that you can see which ones are still working on it, how many active jobs I have, which ones are late, so I can go and chase the project manager and be like, what's going on here? But looking at my tasks, usually at the beginning of my day, I'm going to go in and take a look at, hey, what do I have to do? What do I have to make sure I get out? So I can see I actually have 4 tasks. And notice how these tasks, when I hover over it, you'll be able to see the note title of instruction that you've personally made. So I can see Gina called saying, hey, she has 10K for doing a website rebrand. And we'll need to schedule a follow-up call. I can see exactly who it's with and which company it is for, and also the due date. The due date will be bolded in red if it's overdue or due today. And I have it always sorted by the due date. I find that at the beginning of the day, I can just go through all my tasks from top to bottom as I see fit. And if at any point I happen to complete the task, just mark it as complete, and it's going to take it off of my to-do. Okay. So that's how I typically work from a day-to-day basis when I go through all of my tasks. So let's go into, you can obviously customize this. Some people have, I've played around with my dashboard before where I just show the tasks and a job list. Some people have it so that they have the timesheets panel on here as well. For myself, I don't worry too much about the timesheets because you can also track time by just clicking on the task itself and just put in a flat duration as you see fit. So that's my personal preference instead of tracking real time. However, once again, you can change that as you see fit. But let's go into talking about list tracking. So the main modules for our CRM is the companies, contacts, and notes section. So inside the company section, you can always go and pull a list of companies that you want to look for. So sometimes I might want to know, hey, as a manager, I might want to say, hey, what is Jimmy doing with all of his accounts? So I can go in and filter by the specific reps for all his active companies, and maybe also filter by the qualification stages. Now, this qualification stage dropdown is completely customizable, so you can tailor this to your sales pipeline flow. So I might look for all companies that are prospects. So given that this is a demo system, I might not care which AE it is, or I can go ahead and find the company. Oh, that was weird. I know I definitely have company databases on here.
Jimmy, you just got to get rid of that filter. He had the qualification in there for prospects still, so you might not have any in his prospects.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, so when you pull the list up, you can always change how you want to display all of these columns. Some of the common things I would look at is the qualification stage. And you can also look at it by the city, the companies, etc. So therefore, afterwards, you'll be able to filter by the qualification stages and be able to see, okay, which ones I have in the proposal stage versus the follow-up stage or the client stage, etc. So let's go into a sample company here called Pro Foods Distribution. So like any CRM system, you can track basic info like address, their zip code, phone number, who the AE rep is. We do have the qualification stage here once again, and you can also track what industry they're in. There are a lot of custom fields you can choose. You can have up to 10 custom fields for both the companies and the contacts level. The custom fields can be a date field, can be a general text box. So it is up to you. Some people track birthdays for their contacts. The contact section, same idea. You just like the company's info, you can track phone numbers, direct lines, cell phone address, email address. The email address is going to be very important because that is going to be tied into our email integration with both Gmail and Outlook. So you need to make sure your client or prospect's email address does exist inside function point for that email integration to work. If they do exist, then what's going to happen is anytime you send an inbound or outbound email with function point, it's just, anytime you send an inbound or outbound emails with your prospect or client, it's just going to be uploaded into function point under the notes section. So notice I have an email here on August the 30th that says introduction to function point with the details. I can see who sent that. and who it's towards, and the category will be in email automatically for you. And any files associated to those emails will also be uploaded into the system as well. And you don't have to worry about file storage, because as long as each file doesn't exceed 50 megabytes, which is not going to happen in emails, it is unlimited storage. So one other nice thing about our company and contact section is a lot of other people ask me, hey, I have a web form that I track on my website that people submit, or I use a different marketing tool like Hubspot for inbound marketing. How do I make sure I don't double entry the company and contact section? So we do have an integration with Zapier where you can have make triggers where any inbound, their company and contact info will just be automatically imported into function point without the double entry. And we do have training articles that will go into that in detail if you like. But jumping into the notes section, let's talk a little bit about tracking historical communication. So let's say I had a meeting with Tina Hopkins here, and I want to make a note on that. So very easy, I just go into add new notes. And when you create a note, you can have different templates. So I might have a meeting note that happens all the time. And when you pull the meeting note, you can say, okay, this was with Tina, and her goal is to make a pretty e-brochure for fall season. And she wants this done within 30 days, and her budget is $2,500. And next step, maybe we want to talk about meet with her CEO to finalize the agreement. Okay, so I can now select who this is involved with. And here's my absolute favorite part about Function Point CRM. It is very account executive friendly in the sense that as I make this note, I can create that task right away. I can tell myself that I need to follow up with Tina on Friday and go ahead and create a follow-up task. I can even pin this to other people's dashboards. So maybe I need to involve Jess on this project as well. She's going to help me scope out the work. Once I hit save, this note would now be stored inside ProFood Distribution and under Tina in the notes section, as you see here in the meeting note. But the best part is when I go back to my dashboard's tasks and to-do list, I will be able to see that I have a meeting note here with all the details. So next time, if I come in tomorrow, I'll be able to see this task. I don't have to go into the company record. I don't have to go into the contact record to pull that note up. I just need to hover over it on my to-do list, and it's going to show the details. And you can also see who it's with, in this case, Tina Hopkins, and I need to complete this by October 12th. So that's how you can quickly create a historical note and also create that follow-up task. Okay, so that is how we can track historical follow-ups. So let's go to the, let's go into the next part. So once you, let's talk about sales pipeline tracking now. So with sales pipeline tracking, that's the part where we would use the estimate section to help us with that. So let's say I want to look, what are some of the potential deals coming up that I have in my pipeline? So I can do an estimate find. I can go and look for estimates that are currently in review or submitted. So typically in review means that it's still internal, you haven't sent it off to the client. You're still in the process of creating that SOW. Whereas submitted is that you've now sent it off to the client. If it's approved, that means we've gotten the signed agreement and we can now start the job. Whereas decline means we lost the deal. So I might look for all deals that were submitted to the client with a close probability of greater than 50%. So that's what the close probability is, a great field to help you track your pipeline. So when I click find, I can see that I have 7 potential deals. Currently, I can see all the account executives associated to that, what type of job it is, and the close probability with the amount. and which month they feel like it's going to close in. I can also go into any of these estimates to make further adjustments as I see fit. Our next webinar session is going to dive into the estimate creation in much more detail. So for today's purposes, I really am only going to talk about the sales pipeline tracking. And once again, the sales pipeline tracking is focused on when you create an estimate, the close probability, and it's based on a percentage, the month close, which will help you in the sales pipeline report that I'll jump into pretty shortly. And those are the two key fields that you will be using. So let's talk a little bit about the report we have for CRM inside the system. So for sales pipeline tracking, you can do the quick estimate find. It is great for individuals to take a look at their own pipeline, but when you get to, as a manager, you might want to look at it holistically across the team. So in that case, this report will probably do better for you. So the new business by account executive and qualification level, you can go in and really filter by a lot of the fields. So first off, I can filter by the proper account rep, by the qualification stage of the account, the approval status of those estimates. So like I said, I'm really going to look at ones that are in review or submitted, and all types of companies, maybe not the supplier and vendors. And then you can filter by whether it's the creation date or the month close, if you're looking for a specific pipeline for that month. This is an Excel report, so let's go ahead and pull this up. So in this report, you're going to be able to see it's organized in different ways. So I have the blue line is the account rep. Okay, so I got Brock, Olivia, Mark, and Ryan. Then you can see it by the qualification stages. So if I look at Olivia's, she has one that is in follow-up, one is in proposal, and 6 are with existing clients. And once again, these stages are customizable to what you want. If I scroll to the right, you can see further details such as what type, the name of the job, the work type, what type of job it's going to be, and the status, whether it's submitted or in review. We can also see more granular details, like how many hours this job is going to potentially take, the value of the billable services versus the value of the external expenses, and the total value of the deal. And the close percentage is going to help you with this pipeline report as well. So what it's going to do is, it's going to take the value of the total, multiply it by the close percentage to give you the average potential value of each deal. Okay. So you can see for each individual rep, how much pipeline they have from a dollar perspective, and realistically, this is my entire pipeline value. This is my close percentage of all average out in between all of them. So 110,000 is kind of realistic, more realistic of what I can possibly close. So that's kind of how Function Point tracks the different pipeline inside the system. And that is CRM at a quick glance. Like I mentioned, my favorite part when I was using this is how easy it is to just track historical notes while at the same time creating a follow-up task associated to that. That is by far probably the hardest part. You're going to get a salesperson to track communication. But it really is one of the systems that I found is best at doing that. So I'm going to open it up to questions here. Okay, so I see a question from Kathy here that asks about how do you get the latest full note to print out in a report? So Kathy, if I understand this correctly, you're trying to find out how do I look for all the the communications I've had and have that be generated in a report, whether it's Excel or PDF. So let's go into the Find Notes section. So in the Find Notes section, this is where you're going to be able to do that. So for instance, I might want to look for all the historical notes that I've done with, let's say, company Great Atlantic Insurance. And you can then say, I want to look for all the notes that were created between September 1st to today. And then you can also choose really filter by any of these other fields. So when you create a note, you could actually categorize the notes. Earlier you saw the email, but you can also have, say, minutes or phone calls, etc. And then you can filter based on those. Once I hit find, then it's going to pull up. I see there were 6 notes made with Great Atlantic Insurance in the past. And I can now filter what I want to pull up from here. So for instance, I want to pull up the note content in this case. And then I can drag and drop as I see fit. So now you can now export this to an Excel or a PDF version. It's up to you. But here you can see the note title and what was discussed for each one. Hope that answers your question there, Kathy. Okay. So I have a question here from Janet about, can we change the estimate approval status? So with the estimate, let's see. Actually, Jess, can you help me out here? Do you know if this drop down for the estimate approval is something we can customize?
In terms of the in review submitted?
Yeah. Or is that kind of defaulted in the system?
Yeah, let me just double check.
Okay. So we'll double check that Jess will double check right now, but I'll move on to the next question for now. Can Outlook emails be linked to the contacts or notes? So yes, so that is part of our email integration, Greg. So earlier when I mentioned that in the notes section, we have this email that was automatically uploaded into the system. So what you need to do to set that up is inside your function point system, you have a global email address. Okay. And if you have questions on how to find that global email address, feel free to let us know. But what you want to do is set up your Outlook so that it will auto BCC this email address all the time when you reply, when you send a new email, and also auto forward all inbound emails to your unique function point email address. Once you do that, and once again, this is important, make sure the contact's email address needs to be inside function point in order for it to automatically upload into this note section. And when it does upload, it is going to associate it to the notes as well as the appropriate contact in addition to the company. So hope that answers your question there, Greg. Okay. So I believe, Nikki, your question was similar to Greg's earlier. So once again, we use the BCC field to do that. Okay, so Alex, we use Zapier to connect our web contact form with function point. When the leads come in via the website, the contact type goes to partner, even though I have employee as the default in FP, and the company type goes to client, even though I have the lead as a default. Okay, so Alex, that's probably going to take a little bit further digging into your system. That will probably take a bit more time. So I would definitely, we'll definitely follow up with you afterwards and to make sure that your question is addressed. What are the lead qualifications you had listed? Okay, so for the lead qualification stages I had, once again, this is completely customizable. Everyone should be being in sales for quite for a dozen years now, I find that every company tracks this a little bit differently. So you probably want to find what is best for your business and for the type of services you provide. So in my case, I have prospect, introduction, shown portfolio, follow-up, proposal stage, and agreement issued. In my own personal opinion, if you have more than 5 sales stages, it's probably too much. You want to keep it to about 4. I find anything between 3 to 5, depending on your sales process, it will provide good insight for you. I personally have 5 at Function Point. Okay. So Greg had a question. I missed the part about auto-populating contact info from HubSpot to other CRM apps. Sure. So real quick, what happens is we use a system called Zapier to connect the companies and contacts section. And Zapier is a third-party app, and their website is just called zapier.com. And what happens is pretty much if you can find the app on here, so I can find HubSpot on here, and that means we'll be able to pull their contact and company information over from HubSpot into Function Point using this feature. Okay. And just to give you a high level, what happens is you would need to set up a trigger. So some people set up a trigger if inside HubSpot they went from a lead to downloading a white paper, then that's when it triggers to sync the company or contact info over into Function Point. So it's up to you. You would determine what that trigger would be. Is there a way to only BCC certain emails to your Function Point email address? Yeah, that's a good question, Nikki. It is a global setting and is typically sent with every communication. One nice thing is that internal emails will not be uploaded, from my understanding. But if you want to not have an email be sent over, then what you would do in your Gmail or Outlook is you would just, under the BCC field, you would just take that, delete that email so that it does not get uploaded. Okay. So that's what you would do. But otherwise, yes, you are correct. It is a global sync. Last question with Greg. CRM tool looking good so far. Thank you. I love hearing that. I'm glad this is helpful for you, Greg. Any thoughts on syncing FP Calendar to Outlook and Office Calendar? I'm not sure. That would be a question probably that I would need to direct to our product team to see if that is on the roadmap. So I'm gonna hold off on that. I would say I can check in with the team and get back to you though, Greg, on that afterwards. Cool. I do want to mention one thing for a lot of agencies that they do like is the rate category. So with our CRM tool, you are able to set different rates for, like, if you have a rate, it does automatically set to that. So whenever you create an estimate or quote, you don't have to worry about what is the rate we're charging them. So it's kind of a nice thing. But yeah, that is CRM at a glance. I'm really glad there were a lot of questions. That was very, I feel like I did something right. So thank you all. So I'm gonna keep it open for another few more minutes, just in case if anyone else has any other questions on this system. Yeah, so feel free to jump in. This is recorded, so if you missed anything, we will have the recording of this webinar that you can always revisit at a later date. But thank you everyone for joining. I appreciate it. and hope you all have a great week. All right. Well, again, thanks everyone. I appreciate. It doesn't look like there are any more questions, so I will end the webinar here. And thank you, and hope you all enjoyed this roller coaster ride.